Hello, everybody, and welcome back to College Football Corner. Kevin Walsh alongside Jersey Joe Archino. 10 weeks in the book now of the college season, and maybe none as exciting as Week 10. The marquee matchup took place. LSU unbeaten going in against their heated rival, the Alabama Crimson Tide, and Alabama making a huge statement here, getting a big-time victory, and this is obviously going to catapult them in all of the polls. Talk to me about the positioning and what this will do for both teams now with this win going to Alabama.
Well, I mean, look, obviously, I think this one played out the way we thought it would. The running backs were the difference makers in the game, but it was not the Heisman frontrunner Leonard Fournette who was the difference maker. It was Derrick Henry who, and look, you look at Alabama, and again, they play one way. Their quarterback, Jay Coker, is very conservative. He's not going to do a lot of big things in the game, not going to take a lot of chances down the field. But when you have a consistent running back like Derrick Henry, who had 38 carries, 210 yards, and a bunch of touchdowns, you don't need to throw the ball down the field too many times. He was as consistent could be against the fourth-ranked defense against the run in college football. Derrick Henry is as good as it gets. He's really picked it all up for Alabama. And Alabama defensively, you look at the defensive line and the structure and the strength of that line, shutting down Leonard Fournette, keeping him to under 40 yards rushing. This is a guy who over the season has been averaging over 100 yards a game, and they just contained him as well as you could. It was as impressive a win from Alabama as I've seen in maybe 2 or 3 years.
I mean, it's pretty ironic how maybe the two Heisman frontrunners were Leonard Fournette and Trayvon Boykin. Leonard Fournette loses, and so does Trayvon Boykin. TCU gets a tough loss against Oak State here. I mean, this really now is a huge win for Oklahoma State. They have the opportunity to maybe get into the playoffs if they can win out. Is that within reason for this group?
Look, they're 9-0. I think you look at this game, and it went wrong for TCU because TCU is a team that can't waste any offensive possessions. Their defense is just horrendous. If they're turning the ball over on offense like they did a couple times in this game, they're just not going to have a chance, especially against a team like Oklahoma State. And Mike Gundy has done such a good job. Last season, there was a lot of growing pains with this offense, and it's all paid off for them this year because they've really clicked, they've really meshed, and you see it right now. They're 9-0. Can they be legitimate? I have a very difficult time buying into a lot of these Big 12 teams because the style of defense across the board is very suspect. Offensively, these games are all shootouts. If you're playing a big physical SEC-type opponent like an Alabama or like an LSU, I think you see them come back down to earth very quickly.
And now we're going to move on to Clemson. They got put number 1 in the college football rankings, and they get a big victory, maybe their last tough opponent of the season against Florida State. Is Clemson the best team in the country?
Very good question. Is Clemson the best team in the country? I think they have to be ranked number 1 right now based on what everything is. Are they the best team in the country? I would say no. I think Clemson is very, very good. They've had a lot of their toughest games at home. But at the end of the day, when you look at college football, not all wins are created equal. A one-loss Alabama team to an Ole Miss doesn't just take away a lot from me because, again, the wins, the losses, it's all subjective. It depends on who you play, where you are, what conference you're in. And I think at the end of the day, right now, Alabama, to me, after coming off that win against LSU, is the best team in the country.
Well, Clemson would beg to differ, and maybe another team that would beg to differ is Notre Dame because that's the team that they lost to. But Notre Dame, a huge win. DeShone Kizer absolutely lit it up. 6 total touchdowns last weekend. Is DeShone Kizer maybe the best quarterback in all of college football right now?
Look, it's such an interesting situation because we've seen this happen time and time again in college football. I mean, you have a guy like Malik Zaire who has sky-high expectations coming into the season, plays very well, and then goes out with an injury, out for the year. Then you look at then you look at DeShone Kizer and how he steps in, really without skipping a beat. The way that he has matured and handled taking up such a big position, really flawlessly, learning week by week, becoming more and more confident in his ability. He can lead this offense really flawlessly. His execution, bringing it down the field, hitting the connections with Will Fuller. I would say right now, you could say he's as good as anybody when it comes to quarterback in the country.
From one QB to another, JT Barrett, obviously all of this controversy now surrounding him, but Urban Meyer still faith in his guy, saying that with a good week of practice, that starting job is still his. Any concern with JT Barrett, or do you think that he will now lock this job down and do what he needs to get Ohio State back to where they were last year?
I think he will, because I think he has to. I mean, you look at the rest of the schedule coming up: Michigan State, Michigan. The hardest part of Ohio State's schedule is coming up. And in the back of his head, I think he's always got to kind of look at Cardale Jones really had a chance this past weekend to really separate himself and say, look, JT had his chance and he goofed off. Let me be the man. But I just don't think that his play told that. You look at JT Barrett, he's got huge games coming up. I think he kind of knows he dropped the ball with his off the field, getting pulled over, getting with that situation there. He's got to take responsibility, and I think that he will.
Well, now time to get into our pick'ems. And the first game on the schedule is Alabama, and this is why everyone talks about the toughness of the SEC. You go play LSU. Well, now you're on the road to Mississippi State, and this is obviously the opportunity for Alabama to really cement themselves as a playoff team. Do they get the job done?
I think there's no question Alabama continues to roll. I just think you look at Mississippi State, what they like to do offensively. They're such a run-heavy team. Dak Prescott, a lot of his down-the-field throws come from that early play action, setting it up with the run game. And I just think you look at that Alabama stout defense. They are as big as there is. This might be one of Nick Saban's best defensive lines in a couple of years. I mean, look, he's always recruiting the best of the best, always has outstanding defensive lines. But this one really sets itself apart. You saw what it did against Leonard Fournette. It will be the same thing against Mississippi State. Alabama continues to roll.
Well, I remember not too many weeks ago when you took the U over Clemson, and I gave you a look like you were crazy.
Yes.
I'm probably about to get that same look from you. I got Mississippi State in this one. I think this is going to be Dak Prescott's defining moment, his true staple moment at Mississippi State. They're home. I think that they pull out some magic and stop Roll Tide. And, I mean, I can only imagine what's going through your mind, but the last game on our pick'ems, Baylor, Oklahoma. Baylor still unbeaten. The rookie QB gets the job done for them last week, and the question is going to be moving forward for every game for Baylor. Can he get it done again? A tough team in Oklahoma. What do you expect from the rookie QB, and can he get the job done?
I think this game right here, you're going to see a lot of points scored. I'm going to finally take Oklahoma to give Baylor their first loss of the season. I think with Seth Russell in this game, he wins this one. Without him, I don't think it's going to happen. Baker Mayfield's had a very good year for Oklahoma. I have Oklahoma winning.
I think this is the first week we've disagreed on both games. I really like Baylor this week. I just think that their offense is far too high-powered. They have a real tough stretch coming up, but this first test, I think they get it done. Kevin Walsh, Jersey Joe Archino. This has been College Football Corner. We'll see you guys next time.